Hey, welcome back to another video for the RadialZ application features. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create nested menus. So in other words, you can have a radial menu that triggers another radial menu or a set of different radial menus. So to do that, I already have ZBrush open here, and I'm going to show you the ones that we've already set up in previous videos. So I have a radial menu called my basic brushes with also children brushes, and I still have 4 empty sections here that I haven't changed. And I also have a custom one, or another one that has custom brushes. So all of these ones are custom brushes. Again, they're a little bit random in this case, but it's just to show that this is a menu created or made up fully of custom brushes. All right, so to create nested menus, let's go ahead and go into the RadialZ app in here. And what I can do is tell the basic brushes menu to trigger the custom brushes menu. So to do that, the only thing we need is to know exactly what is the shortcut for triggering the other menu that you want to trigger. So in this case, let's say the custom brushes is Alt Q. So I'm going to remember this one. Go back to my basic brushes, click on edit that menu, and I'm going to trigger those custom brushes from, let's say, slot 3. So I'm going to click on that one. And when you click it once, it opens again the settings for this menu. Now, right now it's in gray, so it has no connections to anything. So what I'll do is I'm going to call this one more, or let's call it custom brushes. The name here is, it's completely up to you. You can name things absolutely anything that you want. In fact, on that note, we can go to the move brush, for instance, and you can change the name. Let's call it movie. You can name everything the way that you want to. Let's say the standard is like the basic stuff. So it's totally up to you. It's just purely so that you can recognize them. So it doesn't affect the loading of the brush, or it doesn't affect the brush itself. This is just kind of like a name that is purely for radials. So again, going back to what we were doing before we branch out too much, I'm going to set this slot to be the custom brushes. Now, in the shortcut itself, you see we also have the keys. I'll cover that in a separate video. That is kind of like a legacy thing that it is useful in some cases, but I'm rarely using this one. So I just left it there because it is useful in some scenarios. But for now, we're just going to concentrate on the shortcut. So in the shortcut, I'm going to press record, and I'm going to type Alt Q. And remember, this is the shortcut for another brush menu. And to finalize this simple setup, I'm going to click on this icon, and that allows me to load a custom icon or a custom, it could be a photo of your face if you want. It could be absolutely anything, as long as it's like a PNG or a JPEG, and it will be in there as an icon. So I'm going to click on that one. And I'm going to load an icon that kind of like makes sense for the, to remind myself that if I click on this one, there is going to be a bunch of additional menus or additional brushes in a separate menu. That's it. That's all we need to do. Let's go ahead and go back to library. And before I save and close, I just want to bring your attention to something that is not important at all, but it is good to know just visually so that you know what you're setting up. You'll notice that all the brushes that I have set up here, they have this blue outline, and it has the blue line connected to the center. However, this custom slot with the custom shortcut, it is orange. That means that it's not using the bridge. In other words, there is no connection between this and the bridge itself. It's going to use a simple shortcut. And this is just important to know in the background when you do some kind of custom shortcut radial menu. But I'll cover that in another video. So now let's go ahead and save and close. And let's go back into ZBrush. And now if I press the Alt and A, I have all my custom brushes with the children, etc. And now I have this, right? This one doesn't have any children, but you could potentially have additional children spaces that also trigger different menus. So the possibilities are kind of like endless in that case. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this one, and you see it opens up my other menu, right? So it could be very useful to set up a parent menu that has a bunch of brushes, but also if you click on something like this, it will trigger a set of new brushes, and you can have a bunch of children brushes on each one of these slots as well. Now, personally, I prefer to just have a couple of shortcuts, and I can trigger them individually. So I can trigger this, and I can also trigger my additional menu from a different shortcut. However, the reason this might be useful is, let's say if you're using a pen tablet and you are relying purely on the buttons that you have in that pen, right? You might have one, or you might have 2 buttons. And if you assign one button to be, I don't know, the right click, for instance, so when you press it, or even the Alt key, so that you can move around ZBrush and stuff like that, you're already using one of those buttons. So the remaining button that you have, you might only have an option to add a single menu, right? So that is a scenario that you might want to have your radials set up, like your main menu, triggered by your pen with a single button. But then you can also click in here and then trigger another set of menus, right? So it just it keeps everything within a single shortcut or within a single key. But it's it's very easy and very handy to set it up that way. All right, so that's it. That's how you created the nested menus inside RadialZ for ZBrush. I'll see you in the next video.